you know, we're just coming out of a second lockdown. So obviously studios haven't been open like for 5 weeks, and probably won't be open again until mid November. And then we had our first lockdown in March, which was about 6 weeks. And then when you talk to other people in other parts of the world, some people are operating their studios. So it's I don't know where I am, what I'm doing, what day I'm on.
Yes. I mean, that's the value of our online training, our virtual training is like, you know, whether you're in complete lockdown or you are, you know, you're open for business, we can still use that as a connecting point, right? And I think that this needs to be part of what we do. It should definitely be woven into part of what we do, regardless of whether your business is fully open or not, right? So
yeah. I must admit, when we first went into lockdown, and I was actually quite nervous about using Zoom, how it was going to work, the benefit of it.
Yes.
And even I think when I started listening to your podcast at the very beginning of the first lockdown in March, and you sent me a request then and said, did you want to join in the conversation? And I go, no, I'm feeling too shy. But I just think to myself, I'm getting used to it now. Even in actual fact, with regard to classes and learning, like, you know, as I said, I haven't told you yet, but, you know, I'm doing, my teacher at the moment in lockdown is Draceana and Martin.
Yes.
And I just find it much more beneficial doing classes with Zoom, because you've really got to be in touch and feel your own body, as opposed to relying on someone else to put their hands on you.
Absolutely. You find it, like, you have to find it in your own body. There's nowhere to hide, right? So, yeah, Marcia's comment right there. I've always found value in seeing clients in their environments. And also, I can't wait to touch their bodies again. Yes. But before we go too far, can you just say your name and your business and where you are?
Yeah, so I'm Draceana Scott. I feel like I'm a student again. I'm forever a student. I mean, I do teach, and I'm not teaching at the moment because we're in lockdown, so the studio's closed. But obviously when we come out of lockdown, the studio will open again. I'll be physically in there. I haven't been teaching Zoom because I don't know. I've just found going, because of the lockdown, I started my Pilates journey in 2004 when I did stop Pilates.
Okay.
Wasn't there because I had another career before Pilates, but I just found over and over and over that you think you know something, and you realize as time goes on there's something missing. You're not quite crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And so coronavirus for me has been fantastic in so many ways, because it puts you back into being in the moment, going back to being a student. You know, I have equipment here, and I'm thinking, why can't I get into this position? What am I missing? So I think you've then got time to delve deeper. And so I feel that for me, Corona time has had a positive impact for me, because now I can think, well, I'm in no rush. There's no rush. I'm not thinking about the destination. I'm just being present and trying to learn more and becoming more of my own body and discover.
That's and that's a good place to be, because I don't know how many of you out there are the other side of the spectrum, where you are so impatient that it's like you just want to go and never take that time to stop and learn and realize and learn what you don't know.
Yes, and you know, everybody keeps saying on these podcasts, you don't know what you don't know. But you know, this has been great for me, because I don't really want to be out there teaching full on 24/7 without feeling that I I've really got the Pilates in my own body.
Yes.
You know, we can all, we can all teach a shape. We can all teach an exercise, but it's more than that. It goes deeper than that.
Okay, so go deeper with that. Like, what does it mean to have Pilates in your body? Like, we throw that line around a lot, but like, what does that mean to you to have Pilates in your body?
So that I'm understanding it on a deep level. You know, the powerhouse isn't just about pulling your navel to the spine. It's so many, the front of the body, the back of the body, where's the top of the body, where's the bottom of the body. Everything is connected.
Yes.
So it's almost like working inside outwards.
Right.
And I think like a surgeon. So in order to teach properly, I think you need to be able to transfer that internal, intuitive outward, from inside outwards.
Yes.
It's like, I suppose, if you're, if you're a person and someone asks, how are you? And you go, I'm great. So you put the face on the outside, but inside you're not.
Yes.
So it's like, I want to feel it inside. So I'm genuinely showing that enthusiasm and transferring this method to the people that I teach, and for them to be inspired and for them to go away and feeling great. I mean, you only have to do, minimum of 30 minutes. And I always find I feel fantastic.
Great. Yeah.
So I can move. My background is not a gymnast or a dancer.
Okay.
So I probably come from a more, a more stiffer background. I think that's probably why I chose, I think you find your teacher, when you put it out there, the universe sort of shows you, someone pops up in front of you in your space.
Yes.
Your guide.
And here's a question too. So what was your career before, like pre-Pilates, and how long were your students before training to teach?
Okay, so I originally I'm from the UK. I was a barrister. So I used to do criminal law and family law.
Okay.
Did that for a long time. And again, I probably had an idealistic view about the law. I was helping people. And that's probably why it led me into, I went to yoga first and then I went to Pilates. So yes, I was a criminal and family law barrister. In my part-time, I used to go to Ashtanga yoga class in Cheltenham in a little spa called Chapel Spa. And I remember I went to my first Ashtanga yoga. I know you've done yoga before, but I don't know what style. And
I don't know what style either, actually.
Okay, all right. So, because your wife is a yoga teacher, isn't she?
Yes, I still don't know what style of yoga that is.
Okay.
I just smile and nod through it. So like, yes, okay, yes.
All I know is that men usually find yoga quite difficult, but the very strange thing about it is that it was developed by men, just like Pilates was developed by a man. Actually, before I go into telling you about my history, why did you decide to teach Pilates and not go the yoga route?
That's a good question. No one's ever really asked me that. I like the strength component to Pilates. Yoga, like, it seemed like the gold star exercises in yoga required me to be able to get my foot behind my neck and to do all these. That was my perception of it. I had to be bendy to be a yogi, where I could still be strong and athletic and still be able to do Pilates.
Yes.
So I found that Pilates really lent to my body, and then the challenges in Pilates weren't. This is gonna sound weird, but like the challenges in Pilates weren't hopeless. Whereas in yoga, I felt like I'm never going to be able to achieve like some contortionist Cirque du Soleil move. I felt like the gold star exercise implies, they're far off, but they might be more achievable within my body.
Yes.
And if they're more achievable within my body, then that would be something that I could be able to teach, because I'll be able to demonstrate it. I don't feel like I'll be able to demonstrate some of those yoga moves. And that was
Yeah.
that was a real superficial base start line. But as I got more into it, I understood how powerful Pilates was for my body and for athletes and for mobility and for men. And it just went from there. So I just kept diving deeper once I had a less ignorant understanding of the two.
Yeah, no, totally agree there with regard to the end result. You're going to be able to get the end result with Pilates a lot quicker than you do with yoga.
Right.
I don't know why that is. I mean, I started with Ashtanga. I'm a Patavi Joyce. He used to come, I saw him in New York. He came to London and he always used to say, all is coming, just keep practicing and practicing, all is coming. And, at that time, I was much younger and it's like, I want it now. I don't want people saying, well, it's probably going to take a minimum of 10 years if you're a bendy person.
Right.
But, I sort of kept going with it as a hobby, because I liked Ashtanga, the vinyasa. It was almost like, when I look back at it, it's escapism from yourself, because it's a flow.
Yes. I was like, oh, I have an answer.
So if someone had said to me, come and do a meditation class, there's no way I could have done that. I can now, but I couldn't then. It was almost like I need to get that fire, that stress, probably the nature of my job, out of me. So
out of you.
Yeah, so I did Ashtanga yoga, and then my teacher, Tina James, at the time said to me, can you take some of my classes while she was away or on workshops? And I used to do that. And it was funny enough, it was her that had put the seed in about teaching Pilates, because she owned a gym called Chapel Spa, and she needed not only, I was filling in for her, but she needed a Pilates teacher. And I just thought, what's Pilates, And I did some research. A lot of the Pilates in the UK at that time, around about 2000, was stopped Pilates and Polestar. Didn't really know that there was classical out there. Didn't really know much about Pilates, other than I'd gone skiing in Colorado, and I'd picked up in a bookshop all these, the old videos.
Yes.
The big square. I don't know what you call them nowadays.
On like VHS videos or like CDs?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So I got about 3 of Romana's videos. And I thought, I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah. Never got round to doing them. I think I've still got them in storage somewhere.
Those archives are probably worth hundreds.
Yeah. And she planted the seed. So I did some research. So I decided that I was going to do my STOT Pilates teacher training course, which I did. And then I was still working as a lawyer and doing mediation, and I got to the stage where my husband at the time, first husband, because I got divorced and married again, he's wanted to move to Australia. So I was thinking, what do I do? Do I start another career? Maybe I can take it to Australia. So I sent away for this book, this yoga book, from a publishing house. And in my mind, I was sort of saying to the universe, I don't know what I should do. Should I stick with mediation and being a lawyer, or should I do the whole transfer into becoming a yoga and Pilates teacher? I'd already started the Stop Pilates course, and the book came back. And when I opened the cover, the author of the book had written my name and said, "Dear Draceana, follow your heart," with a big heart inside. So I thought, there's my answer.
Wow.
I just sent to the publishing house. I didn't expect anything to be written. There was nothing on the website saying this person's going to write anything on your book. So I'm a firm believer is that there are stepping stones in our lives.
Yes.
And if we, like the flow of the river, if we just follow it without pushing too much or resisting, our answers are revealed.
Yes.
So,
following it. Yes.
It's following it, but usually that voice is a very small voice.
That listening piece is the challenge, right?
Yes. And I found to my detriment in the past is that I've overridden my intuition. I've overridden my small voice because I thought, oh, yeah, no, I won't go that route. I'll go, the route is shouting out to me.
Yes, on a sidebar, that's when my wife calls me an overthinker. And she would say, I'm like the president of Overthinkers Anonymous. Hi, my name is Martin. Because that's exactly what I would do. And I'd stop there, hear one voice, hear another voice, and then sit there paralyzed in the middle, trying to decide which voice I want to listen to and look at all the different scenarios and options and not just listen to that first small voice that was the right one to run with. So I hear you. Yes.
And that, you know, that's what I always say to my 3 children now who are now grown up, is that when you're in a dilemma or you're not quite sure which way to go, you need to listen to the small voice. So I listened to the voice. I completed my Stop Pilates teacher training, but I felt there was something missing. I just felt that I didn't know what, but I thought all these people rave about Pilates, but I'm just not getting it.
Yes.
You know, probably because it wasn't in my body and I was doing the shape, I was doing the exercise. So we emigrated to Australia, and I applied for a job teaching yoga and Pilates in a health retreat in the Gold Coast in Australia, which is called the Golden Door. It's very well known in Australia. So I worked there, and Gwingana, which is partly owned by Hugh Jackman. And I then, because I've got my qualification, but as you've said before, and people have said before, a piece of paper doesn't mean anything.
Right, yes.
You know, we can have lots of pieces of paper, like you said, the car, you know, but you know, we know how to drive it.
Yes, yes.
So I taught yoga, taught Pilates, but felt there was something missing. So I started going to a class on the Gold Coast that was run by, it was called Pulse Pilates, and it was run by Dina Matty. And I started going to her classes, classical Ramana trained.
Yes.
And then started their program and went to Sydney and spent time with and learning with Cynthia Lachard.
Okay. Yes.
I think Celia was
yes. Celia
also,
Jones too. Yes.
And also a co-student with Dina. Then took a holiday to New York with a girlfriend of mine, Jennifer Halliday, and we went to True Pilates in New York and had lessons with Ramana and her daughter and granddaughter Daria and Shari.
Wow, very cool. So at that point, Draceana, like, what was the difference between what you had learned to that point and your first experience doing a classical Pilates class?
It was so different. It's so different. It's almost like if there are any yogis on this chat, it's like talking about Ashtanga yoga and Iyengar yoga. They're still yoga, but they're so totally different. Stop Pilates was contemporary, so it was very much, you had to learn it anatomically. So when you were teaching, when went through the exam, it was all about you talking anatomically, like you were talking to medical students.
Okay.
And it was from that basis, it was almost like it was a rehabilitation, more of a rehabilitation.
Corrective exercise approach sort of thing.
As opposed to classical Pilates, where it was a real workout. So, for example, and there's even differences in classical, as we know. So,
Yes.
obviously meeting Romana, I mean, they were in awe because we were on holiday specifically to do Pilates. And they were amazed because we'd come from Australia.
Yes.
And the other amazing thing is that at the time, is that I was still, even though I was teaching Pilates, I was doing Pilates on the Gold Coast in Sydney. And Romana she didn't appear to be this, you know, guru. You know, she was just a beautiful lady. You just came in, you did classes. She was lovely. I wasn't frightened of her or maybe in awe of her. And I have come across teachers where I have felt that.
Yes.
And so it was a really joyful experience. Not only that, but you know, you're in a studio where there's lots of people milling around. It's busy. No one's giving kudos to anyone. They're just teachers are working with students, with Romana. There's people coming in, 70, 80-year-olds doing their workout with the pink tutu on. It's just something.
What a different energy.
Yeah, just a different time.
Yes.
This was, well, that was 2012. And then we also went and did lessons with Brooke Seiler at Riyadh.
Yes.
And I mean, that was amazing as well. But oh my gosh, that was a real workout. You know, she hammered us. I don't know whether it was because we said we were on the teacher training program, but it was like, oh my God. But you know, the Pilates world, and like yoga, probably any world that you really delve into, I found really the Pilates world, the yoga world, people are so giving.
Yes.
You know, such beautiful, beautiful people. And the other thing about talking about classical is that, again, so, you know, I thought contemporary stop, pole stop. I've got Romana's Pilates here. And that's what I thought. Oh, this is great. This is what
like those doing. Are just the two polar opposites at other ends. Yes.
And then I went I've got a friend called Kelly West, and she's was a vintage teacher. Okay. So I went out to LA and I stayed with her and her friend, Audrey, and she has a home studio, and then she took me to vintage and we did some classes with Sandy.
Yes.
And that was another whole eye-opener because it's like, hang on a minute, I thought I was doing classical Pilates.
Yes.
You know, what is this? Because when I went in, they said, there's a performer. Jay wasn't there. I think he was in Hawaii on holiday.
Okay. Get
on a reformer and do your workout. Of course, I was used to the Romana style where everything is quite nurtured. They guide you. Yes. And everything is very pedantic and very precise. And there I was like, oh, you mean I actually do it on my own and someone just comes to see me occasionally? It was like you would if you're in a gym.
Yes.
You do your own thing.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Noam Gennell is he did some of his work with Jay at Vintage and did the work program. So I'm sure he could speak to that. But yeah, guys, as you're listening to Draceana talk through, it's like you see there's like this thread of different styles and different approaches and different philosophies, and people put their signature on the work in different ways. Yes. But it's all Pilates.
It's all Pilates, and you know, people like Blossom, and you know, they have their creative way. Obviously, she learned from Kathy Grant. So, although we learn a method from some lineage, at the end of the day, we use all our history, our other modalities to help us teach Pilates.
Yes.
So, you know, sort of never really one way. So just because I could be there all day and I have no idea what the time is. But
that's good.
so that was a real eye-opener to me, and I'm not sure whether at the time I enjoyed that so well, but I was anyway, went back to Australia, going through my program, went through a divorce, and then it was just too much. I didn't complete my Romana teacher training.
Okay.
Because I found I had 3 children that I had to obviously look after.
Take care of.
Yeah, and more to secure income. So I stopped that, got a job because of my legal background in strata and property management. Still taught a few classes, you know, in the evenings.
Just to stay sharp, right? Just to stay connected in your own body. Yeah.
Connected. You know, difficult times. Anybody that's been through a divorce, it's difficult times, let alone emigrating.
Yes.
But you know, these things also, you know, make you grow. I mean, I never. Sometimes people can look back or at the time and be bitter about something and think it's a negative. But the people that, you know, you're divorced, you may not like your ex-partner or whoever it might be, ex-boss or something, but they teach you something about yourself.
They do.
It's a great learning curve, and sometimes I think these people are sent to you, even really difficult relationships.
Yes.
To
make, you know, I recognize the sense of resilience that I've gotten through those experiences, like going through my divorce, for example, and the ups and downs, and apart from that person, just within myself, what I learned about myself, like how strong am I? How confident am I? How hopeful am I?
yes.
What do I do with disappointment or rejection or anger or embarrassment or shame? Like, you know what I mean? So all of these things that are so concentrated in those little life experiences, they come in smaller doses as you're taking a Pilates course or as you're going through life, whatever it is. There's certain things that happen, and they're like a small version of that big life experience that I had back then. Like, you know, I think you commented on it in my post earlier this week when I mentioned that, you know, there's times when people will, you know, say, well, why do you always talk about your divorce? You always mention that. It's like, it's a checkpoint. And it was a massive checkpoint, and it was a defining moment for me on different levels that taught me a lot about myself.
Yes, and also, you know, it teaches, you know, we're all responsible. You know, a lot of people divorce and they blame one person or another, but we're both responsible. And, you know, we talked about even Pilates, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, if I look back on my first marriage, I had, you know, beautiful children, 3 beautiful children. He's a great guy, but obviously not for me, not for each other. You know, it wasn't meant to be. And it's only, you know, having remarried an amazing man like you know, you're remarried as well, that you realize, oh my gosh, that wasn't you know, that wasn't meant to be. And I think it was Brooke Tyler who said in one of your podcasts is that, you know, you get married, I never thought to myself I could get divorced. It doesn't even enter your head, does it?
Right. No, right.
But well, you maybe think this is what everybody else does. You may be in love with this person. You don't have a checklist. You maybe don't listen to those small voices, and you go ahead and
and here we are. Yes. Well, it's true, you know, and I had to layer into, and I've said this in the past as well, the way that I was brought up, you know, with church background, friends, family, having parents who are still married, we were told and taught, and it was implied, divorce is not an option. Okay?
Yes.
Right. So now the danger with that line, divorce is not an option, is you start to live your life like divorce is an option for the bad. I'm not going to try because we're not going to get divorced anyway. I'm not going to continue to date this person, chase this person, court this person, because it is what it is. It can't get worse. We're not going to get divorced. Divorce isn't an option. Like, you hear it that way, and then all of a sudden, it's like, I want out. This isn't working. You grow apart. You say, well, I wasn't really working to keep this together when I had a chance, and now I redouble my efforts, and it's too little too late. Whereas now in this relationship, which is great, Alex and I have an amazing marriage, and there's that sense that, no, wait, divorce is an option, so we're going to work at this every day.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I was married for 17 years and long time. I knew it wasn't right, but in my head, I thought, I've got 3 children. I've been married. You know, I've made this commitment in front of God. I am not going, you know, this is it, unless there's a very good reason or I'm shown a door, I'm sticking with it. And sometimes I think you think you're doing it because you can make the excuse that is better for the family, you're protecting the family.
Right.
But I think that actually children are smarter than you realize.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's better to teach your children that, like I say to mine, you know, nothing's forever. And you want to, if something's not good, you don't want to stick with it. Don't put up with it. You know, yes, keep trying.
Yes.
But when enough's enough, you need to show them that when it's not working, you need to move on.
Right. Well, and that's one of the voices that I didn't hear because as an athlete, I was thinking, I don't want to lose. 60% of marriages end in divorce. I don't want to be a statistic. I'm just going to tough this out. That sort of thing. So we hear these voices and our pride and things get in our way. So we can't really objectively look at what, you know, how do we get here? What the next step is. We can't hear those messages because we have these blinders on based on our life experience.
Yes. And of course, we're immature. Now I'm at this age, I can look back and I'll also, when I'm giving advice to my children, I say to them, they say, well, when we get married, we're never going to get divorced. And I said, yes, that's what I said. And I said,
that's encouraging.
That would be an ideal world, but I'm trying to give them a reality check.
Yes.
So, you know, nothing comes as a shock. I mean, nothing is forever. Even our lives aren't forever. Right,
exactly. It's like tomorrow's promised to no one. So we have to just continue to just enjoy what we have, work at what we have, and yeah, so I wish, if Alex was on here, she would have been chiming in so much because I was so sour prior to my relationship. And so it'd be funny to have her, you know, chirping me on this comment section right now because she has a really healthy perspective on life and marriage that she brings. Even in my post today, that Throwback Thursday, about adventure and life. And we see people now, like I'm sure with your husband as well, they bring out the best in you. They bring out different parts of you.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, oh my God, you know, it's amazing. It's wonderful. They bring out the very best. You bring out the very best of each other.
Yes.
When you get it right.
When you get it right.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah. I'm sure I was going to say something then, and now it's gone about something like that.
Yeah, there's so many questions too. Like your story was so awesome, but like I saw things popping up here.
Yeah, and I still haven't finished the story, have I? So, you know,
okay.
So I'm in Australia now, and divorced on my own. Was on my own for a good 10 years or so, and I did go through, you know, a very traumatic relationship, which stopped me in my tracks, and I then didn't even teach yoga and Pilates because I just couldn't give anything. I just felt so raw, exposed. And in my journey to get better, I thought to myself, I've got to get it out. I've got to do something. So I actually bought a bike, a road bike. Took up cycling, joined this brilliant group called McDonald's cycling group on the Gold Coast, and took up cycling. Used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and would cycle like 4 days early morning, 4 days a week, 50K, have a coffee, and then I get home, shower, go to work, Saturday you might do 100 Ks.
Wow.
And during this time and these years, I get also thinking that, because, you know, you join a group, there's a small, beautiful people, still runs, but I thought to myself, I need to take myself out of my comfort zone. I need to now go and join another group of riders. So I joined another cycle group, and that's where I met my now husband.
Okay, there you go.
There are about 40 people on this ride, and because he was way up in the front, because he does Ultramans, Ironmans, you know.
Wow.
And I was right at the back, but
yes.
you know, we locked eyes, and the rest is history.
Yes.
Obviously,
So sweet.
Dated. Because he's in the army, he got a posting. He's a commander in the Australian Army. Got a posting to Israel, and hence me now living in Israel. So I've been living in Israel for a year, and we have another sort of 18 months. But when I arrived here, I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? Because, you know, most people, they do speak English, but on the whole, they speak in Hebrew most of the time.
Yes.
And I'm typical English person. I'm absolutely useless at languages. So even if I tried to learn the language, or write the language, or read the language, I think I'd still be trying in another 10 years. No. So I thought to myself, well, what shall I do? So I again I took up yoga here. Okay. And then I thought, not enough. Then started Pilates, and again, there's Pilates in Israel, Tel Aviv. You've got the classical style, you've got contemporary, you've got Ramana style, and then in Jerusalem you've got Ramana style studio, a vintage style Pilates studio. So I signed up to do the classes at the vintage style Pilates studio. Okay. And it's funny how I've developed, because I actually prefer that way to go, you know, being
a little more independent.
Led classes. Yes. I actually now did the student program. Would probably prefer to have my own studio where people, like Joseph used to do, people come in.
Like an open gym format sort of thing.
Open gym format, yeah, because it teaches people great independence. Obviously, you know, they've got to learn how to do it first, like Joseph would have done, supposedly, according to John Steele. But, you know, John Steele said he only had a few lessons and then he was left to his own devices. So, so, you know, that's my thought process. And then, of course, with COVID and being at home, well, I mean, you have to be self-reliant.
Yes.
And that's when you start being self-reliant and doing it on yourself, you think to yourself, that's not quite in my body. So now I just think to myself, with Jacqueline, I've got time to spend.
Jacqueline Martin?
Yeah, Jacqueline Martin, getting into my body. And what I find about her as a fantastic teacher is she's such a great guide.
Yes.
Her cues are amazing, and she comes from the sports athletic.
Yes, as a cyclist and marathons, etc. Yeah.
So for me, I think she understands my stiffer body. Like she said, she was stiff, she was strong. She had that fighting spirit, a bit like you, as I'm not going to give up, and I probably don't have that in me, but you know, I have persistence. I feel like I'm the tortoise, and I'll get there eventually. Yes. So that's what I mean. I'm a student again, but I think I'll always be a student. I'll always have a mentor, someone to look up to.
Yes. Now, so are you not teaching any virtual one-on-ones at all? Because I'm sure people who heard your story are just like, I want to learn from her now. I want to see what she sees. And
no, because I think that I need to start believing in myself, because I think it's such an art to be able to teach people on Zoom. I mean, I don't know how you are you teaching on Zoom, and how long you've been doing it?
I've been doing it. Well, I've really had to double down since March, but it's trial and error. It is experimenting. It's getting it more polished. Every class has to be a little bit better than the last, and then even then, you may have some technical difficulties or something outside of your control, and you just have to roll with it. I
Yes.
think, at some point you have to just jump.
Yes.
You will never,
You're right.
and if we circle back to the marriage thing, I remember one of my friends, my background is in counseling and marriage and family therapy, and I'd read books on it and how to be a good dad and how to be a good husband. And one day my mom said to me, she goes, there's things that you're only going to learn in the context of marriage that you're never going to get in a book. And I think it's the exact same with teaching. There are certain things you can read, you could say with Draceana Martin, Joseph Pilates could resurrect from the dead, and you could take classes with him, and you would still feel like you're not ready. So at some point, you need to just jump and take one class and fail miserably, and then take a second class and make it just slightly better. And then the next class will be amazing, and you'll think you're the best person in the world. And the class after that will be terrible again. And then you're going to want to stop. And then that ebb and flow is going to continue. And then you find your groove.
You're right. I think it's, the A-type personality wanting to be perfect, not to let anybody down, is that, you feel that I just feel like I just don't know enough. And because of knowing that I didn't know enough, even back then in 2004 when I did my stop Pilates training, it's almost like, but I suppose, you just got to jump and do it at some point. You've got to let go of the life raft.
Yes, you do, my friend. Yes, you do.
And also, I think the other thing is because there are such, Martin, to be honest, I look at these podcasts, I look at the teachers, Zoom classes, and I just think there are such fantastic Pilates teachers out there. Yeah. How and why would, I would say to myself, why would you want to come to me when there are, there's just fantastic, not only are they fantastic Pilates teachers, like I'm sure you are, because I haven't taken a class with you, but, you're a beautiful person, you're very open. And I think there are these people already out there.
Wait. Sorry. So say that again. So I'm a beautiful person, and I'm okay. So what you just said there had nothing to do with my skill set. It had everything to do with who I was. And I believe that there are people out there who think you're a beautiful person, you're compassionate, and you understand, and then you layer into that your experiences and who you learn from. There are people that will come to you that have been waiting for you, right? You have students out there that have been waiting for you.
Yes. And when I teach physically in the studio, I just love it because I get so enthusiastic, and they, fortunately, they always say to me, they learned something new. Yes. It was upbeat because, I know I just want people to have fun, fun and move.
Yes.
And want to come back again and feel like you're not just telling them to do something. They're enjoying it. They're thinking about it. They're thinking the thread. Like Kathy Ross-Nash, I mean, she explains it so easily, she simplifies it. You can see when she talks, you can see the thread going through everything. And I want them not to just come to a class. I want them, like Jacqueline says, she teaches her students like they're teachers, not just students.
Yes. So you want people to be educated and inspired while they're moving and having fun.
Yes. I mean, there are obviously people that just want to come and do a workout. But most of the time I find that you attract like people, don't you?
Absolutely.
And Leslie Logan's been on your podcast, and she just talks about this topic exactly. There are millions of people out there. The teacher for everyone.
Your students are waiting for you.
Yes. So, So
your students they're waiting for you. They're totally waiting for you.
Yeah, but the other thing, the funny thing about being in COVID is that you also get quite selfish with your time.
Yes.
And it's almost like, I've got to, you know, I have to focus on, I've got to do my reformer, I've got to do my mat or my pitbull, I've got to do my homework. It's like, I've got to do all this before I teach people. And I think that's the other thing that I want to carry through when I move back to Australia and have my own studio, is that I think it's really important to to work on myself every single day.
Yes.
Go through a class. And I think that when I've taught in the past, that's got lost, because what happens is we keep chasing after something in the future. So we've got too many classes where, you know, we might be doing a good job, but are we really? Because that's one class down, second class.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Third class.
So there's a balance that needs to be found there.
Yeah, so I think this is what's also been great about COVID, is that it stops you in your tracks, and you have to look at where you are, what you want, and what's really important. I mean, I know when you're young, and you know, there are people on this podcast who want to open studios and they want to keep their studio going, and they will do, but you know, enjoy those steps, enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey, rather than thinking there's an end goal, because before you know it, you've got to the end goal. And have you enjoyed this time?
Right. I'm really enjoying watching your journey through this COVID time as well. And I can't wait to see the advertisement for your virtual classes, your one-on-ones that you start to offer.
Martin, when you started, because I'm changing subject.
Yes.
My kids always sound good.
And sorry, we have 3 minutes left too, so I'll answer your question. Isn't that crazy how fast that went?
Wow.
Yes.
What I wanted to ask you is, did you always have in mind doing this podcast before the COVID started?
No, this is totally just a response to everyone having classes that are going on, and me wanting to just have a platform where people could talk about what they do, and like you, just understand, like, hear your story. If we can hear your story, and I used to say this in personal training all the time, people will sign up with you because of what you do, but they stay with you because of who you are.
Yes.
Right.
By the way, what do you prefer? Personal training or Pilates? I've given you a difficult one there.
I know, eh? I like them both. And I see where there's a place for both, and I weave Pilates into my personal training. I'll weave personal training into my Pilates because it's all movement. I literally changed the title on my business card from Pilates sport conditioning specialist to whatever, to actually all it says is movement specialist.
Yes.
And then even that's just what I do, is I help people with movement. I move freely, injury free, perform better. It's all movement. So I drop both titles and I just call it movement now.
Yeah. And by the way, you are really, as everybody keeps saying, it's nice to say it to you personally, you are really, really good at these core conversations.
Thank you.
It's your thing. You need to, I was thinking you need some sort of show. Maybe, you know, people won't be relying on Netflix anymore. Maybe you could go on a Netflix program like Gwyneth Paltrow does with Goop.
Sure, why not?
You could have your own program, your own show. I mean, everybody, not just Pilates, everybody's connected to somebody.
Yes.
Guinness Book of Records for conversations.
There you go.
There's an idea for you.
Thank you so much. All right, in our 50 seconds that's left, I just want to say I thank you so much. Like, these conversations are easy when it's people like yourself that just shares your heart freely and encourages everybody. So thank you so much, Draceana.
Yes, and well done, the Pilates community out there. You are all fantastic.